Hey besties, welcome or welcome back. Today I have 12 functional DIYs for you. I love making things that you have a use for too. So let's get started. I saw this super cute little box that says Got Mail on Pinterest for $22.71. And I thought, I bet I could make that. So I found these two little crates from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the tags and then I'm going to get my utility knife out and I'm going to cut off one of the short ends on each one because what I want to do is attach them together to make a wider box. I am definitely fast forwarding through this part because it took some serious muscle. I mean, either that or I'm just super weak, and that actually could be it. So maybe it would be easy for anyone else. I have a problem on my kitchen counter with where we need to put our mail, and so this is going to solve that, and I'm really excited about that. Now that I've separated those pieces, I've sanded them, and of course using the Ladybug vacuum to clean it up, and I will link that in the description box. Now I'm going to use my Kills All-Purpose Primer paint. I use this a lot. It goes on almost like a white chalk paint. It's perfect. And I did literally paint everything, bottom, top, sides, everything. I have this Buffalo Check tissue paper and I honestly can't remember if I got it at Dollar Tree or Walmart or Hobby Lobby. I'm not sure, guys. Sorry. Now I'm just cutting out the pieces that would be the right sizes approximately for the inside of the box. So basically 2 of every piece I cut, and I'm going to trim them and try to size them in there, and I'm going to Mod Podge it just like I've done in the past when you've seen me Mod Podge. Super easy. Try to get as close to the right size as you can. Lay down the Mod Podge, put it in the tissue paper, then lay down some more Mod Podge, and then when all of the pieces are in there, I'm going to, once it's dry, you don't want to do anything until the tissue paper is dry, and then I'm going to rip off the edges and sand the remainder so that it looks nice and clean, and you can just watch me do that right now. On the short side of the boxes, there's a little hole that looks like it would have been like a handle. So I'm using my X-Acto knife. I'm just going in there and I'm cutting around that hole and removing the tissue paper from that spot on both sides. Now I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to secure the 2 pieces together. Now I've been told that you don't overlap the 2, that it doesn't work as well. So if you notice, I'm just putting E6000 on each side and a little bit in the middle of the long side and then the hot glue around that, and then I am putting it together. I'm going to wipe off the sides real quick because sometimes that E6000 oozes out, and same with the hot glue. And then I'm going to clamp them and hopefully they will stay together. I'm going to come in with some more hot glue down that center seam just for a little extra security. And now I've got some sticker letters from the Dollar Tree. And yes, I have a Cricut, but I don't always use it because sometimes I like the stickers that they have and it's cheaper than buying vinyl. So I am spelling out Got Mail and I'm Mod Podging them. Even though they're sticky, I really want to make sure they stay. And I couldn't find a good question mark, so I just used a black marker and I drew it myself. Now I'm going to go in with some ink chalk paint and I'm going to distress it. Now this is my first time doing that with ink color. I usually do the antique wax or truffle or something else. I gotta be honest with you, I don't like it. So I end up going over it with some white, and I'm using a little makeup sponge, and I must have got it too wet because I feel like I overdid it big time. So I'll just go in and then I'm going to use a little bit of silver, or actually it's called steel, and I'm going to fix that up. Now I'm using a little buffalo check ribbon that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap it around the very top and hot glue that in place. The original one didn't have this, but this was just an inspired piece, so I decided to give it my own spin, and I like doing that. I'm not going for an exact dupe here. keeping with the farmhouse look that I've got going here, I'm going to take some twine and wrap it around the bottom several times. No particular pattern or rhyme or reason, and I'm going to hot glue it. And I'm going to take these little lavender pieces from the Dollar Tree with a little piece of greenery behind it. I'm going to hot glue that off to the left side of this box. I just think that makes it super cute and, again, real farmhouse feel. Now I'm going to make a little bow. I'm just going to wrap it around my fingers, tie it in the center, and then clip the 2 loops on the end and just hot glue that right over the little end of the stem of the lavender just to finish it off. I forgot to film myself doing the next part, but I found a little chalkboard with a clothespin on it from Dollar Tree, and then I put a little rub-on transfer of a little letter from Dollar Tree, and I added that to the right side. I really love how this turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments. DIY, I'm using 2 of these signs from the Dollar Tree and a velvet hanger that I had that was broken. Now, I was inspired by something I saw on Pinterest and I forgot to save the picture, so I can't show you, but it looks a lot like what I'm going to make. I'm going to remove the little signs that are sitting on top of the signs and I'll save them for a future DIY. One thing I would like to say, do you see that mess? Do not ever get these boxes with the glitter and plan to remove it. It is horrible. Oh my gosh, I'm only going to show you a teeny bit because it took like at least a half an hour, at least. I'm never going to do that again. Anyway, after I cleaned up the mess, I'm going to snip the other part of the hanger off so that I have 2 even pieces. And these are going to end up looking like iron kind of brackets. I guess that's the right word. And I'm using my little tin snips there. I love those. I'll put a link in the description in case you're interested. They cut so well. Oh my gosh. I mean, you don't even have to squeeze that hard. So now that these boxes have recovered from the glitter, I'm going to paint them in my truffle chalk paint by Waverly. And I'm going to paint the outside, the entire outside, and the entire inside. Just one solid, good coat. Now these are made out of like almost cardboard, so it absorbs the paint really well and you don't need to do multiple coats at all. So now I'm going to take my chippy brush and I'm going to use a little bit of the ink color, which is like black, and a little bit of the plaster color, and that's kind of like an off-white. And I'm going to take my chippy brush and I'm going to dry brush first the black on. So dry brushing, you put a little bit on your brush, wipe most of it off, and then lightly drag it across the surface. And then after I do that, I'm going to grab a little bit of the white, or the plaster I should say, and dry brush that as well. And what I'm trying to do is make this look like it was wood. Since it's cardboard, you don't get a wood grain when you paint it, you know, even if you do the faux wood techniques, but if you do this, it really does kind of give it that grainy look, and it also looks distressed and worn, which is the look I wanted this to have. So hopefully, you know, this being a bit of a rustic type of a DIY, this accomplishes that. I'm really happy with how this part turned out. Let me know what you think. Once the painting is finished and dry, I'm going to take the 2 pieces of the hangers and I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue. The E6000 is to hold it in place permanently, and the hot glue is to set it in place right now while I'm working with it. And so I do not let them touch. I just put one and then the other, and I attach it to the sides of one of the little, now we'll call them shelves. And then I did the same thing with the other one. And there you see it looks like brackets. I'm going to take the other little shelf and I'm going to hot glue it towards the top. And I'm just going to do the same thing, but I'm going to lay it down so that I have a way to, have leverage while holding it, and it will stay in place. And I'll do the same thing. Well, actually on the top one, I only did hot glue because I didn't think it would be as big of a deal. And if it comes off, I'll go back and add some E6000, but for the purposes of the video, it made sense to just do the hot glue on the top one. I'm not going to put anything super heavy in it anyway. If I was going to do that, then I would want to definitely do the E6000 in both. Now I'm just going to style it with a little candle and some succulents and some Spanish moss. And I just love it, you guys. Let me know what you think.
My friends, I want to invite you to come with me to a crafty cruise getaway with 4 other channels here from YouTube where you can enjoy beaches and sand and tons of crafting inspiration. This ship has so many amenities that you are going to just have a blast. Plus, you get to connect with other crafters. But here's the thing, space is very limited. So make sure you go to craftycruisegetaway.com to get all the information that you need. Everything is linked down below in the description box.
This Kirkland Inspiration decor piece is a really cute buffalo check welcome mat, but for $25 I thought I could do it for less. So I found one of the doormats at Dollar Tree, and I'm not going to give you the full tutorial on how to do your own buffalo check because I have a video where I have a lot of details. I'm going to link that video above in the cards and down below in the description box. And please, after this video and after you watch Nicole's video, feel free to go check that out to get the very specific instructions. It just takes a long time to explain it, so I'm going to let you just watch. I tape it off. There's about 3 or 4 steps to it. Now right now I'm covering up the center because that's where the words welcome are going to be, so that will not be part of the buffalo check pattern, so I want to protect it. So I'm going to go ahead and use the tape, and you create spacers so that you leave that extra row in between. And I'm measuring, but I'm not measuring exactly because I'm looking at the picture and I'm kind of eyeballing it at the same time. So it's a combination of measurements and what looks right to me. And then I figure I can always touch up when I'm all done. Now I do label the tape top and bottom because those pieces go off at one point and then back on, so you want to remember which one was which. I'm using my Kiehl's primer white paint for this. It's just perfect for this project, and I'm doing several coats so I can get as much coverage as possible. So in a nutshell, you have, in this particular buffalo check pattern, we'll have like black, gray, white, and off-white. It's basically varying shades of a similar color, unless you're mixing 2 like red and black. But in this case, I'm mostly doing white, gray, and black. Now for the center of the sign, I didn't have the exact color, so I just kind of made this up as I went. So I used a little bit of a cream color, some of the pumpkin from Waverly, and then I added a little bit of burnt umber because it just needed to go a little darker. And I came up with this color, have no idea what to call it, but it's similar to what the picture had. And that's what I'm going to paint that inside rectangle. Now you might notice a couple areas where I'm going to need to do some touch-ups, and I go ahead and do that later, but for now I'm just going to try to get this center part done. I am going to use my Cricut to create a stencil for the word welcome. I tried to replicate the font that they had in the picture. Again, I'm not sure what the name was, and I'm using some masking tape as transfer tape. I'm going to go ahead and varnish the stencil to my transfer tape and then take that off. Then I'm going to lay it down on top of my mat, try to center it in that center area, and then with using my little weeding tool, I'm going to pull off the transfer tape and leave the stencil behind. Now, if you didn't have a cutting machine, you could certainly use a stencil with different letters, or if you could find one that says welcome, or you could freehand it if you knew how to do that. I'm going to use my ink chalk paint, which is basically black by Waverly, and I'm going to do several coats so that I can get the darkest lettering possible. Now for the super fun part, which is pulling off the stencil. I gotta tell you, I was so surprised how clean the letters were. I thought it was gonna bleed for sure, but it didn't, and it looks amazing. So there's the original up above. Tell me what you think. I feel like it came out pretty good. I'd love to know what you think. I'm going to use those little kind of plastic covered wire square containers from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use some of these googly eyes from Halloween that I had purchased, using my hot glue gun to poke holes on either end so that I can stick a dowel through it, and that's going to be the middle of my little tiered tray. This is going to be a 2-tier tray. I'm making it because I need a place to hold my sponges and lotion and brushes and things like that by the kitchen sink. I'm also using a glass candlestick that I got at Dollar Tree. And right now I'm just kind of figuring out how I'm going to want to put this together once everything is ready to go. So I'm sticking the dowel into the eyeball and kind of figuring out how is this all going to hold itself up. What I have decided is that I need 2 of those little eyeballs, the candlestick, the 2 wire baskets, and the dowel. And then I'm going to use a little plastic shower curtain ring for the handle at the top. I'm using my tin snips to go ahead and cut the dowel. It makes a super easy cut, and it's pretty straight, and I just did a little sanding on the end when I was done with that. I'm going to be using the color Plaster from Waverly. It's a chalk paint, and I'm going to be painting the eyes and eventually the candlestick. I'm going to be creating a faux wood effect, which I will also use the antique wax from Waverly to accomplish that. Since the dowel is already made of wood, I can just use the antique wax and go ahead and stain that piece to match the rest. I'm using a coarse brush because it leaves little stroke marks, and you can use a chip brush for this too. They sell them at Dollar Tree. My daughter bought me some really nice brushes for Christmas, so I'm using those, and I love the way they work. They really show the little lines, so it does look like a wood grain. When I'm doing this technique, I go in the same direction with the wax so that the strokes are all going the same way like wood would really do. I'm going ahead and planning out my assembly again now that everything is dry and it has been painted. I mentioned I was going to use a shower curtain ring to create the handle at the top, and I'm going to use a faux galvanized metal technique for that one. I used my tin snips to cut off this little tab that was on the inside of that shower ring. I don't need it, and it kind of gets in the way, and I needed a flatter surface so I could attach it. I'm going to come in and fill that hole in on the top there of the candlestick, because otherwise there's no stability. So I'm going to use a little wooden block from the Dollar Tree and a lot of hot glue. To create the faux galvanized metal, I'm using the steel color in Waverly's chalk paint. I'm going to use ink, which is black. I'm going to use some white paint that I got a sample from Lowe's, and then I'm going to use metallic silver from Folklore, and I'm just going to dab it on lightly with a little sponge until I get the desired look that I want. It's kind of just going back and forth and back and forth. And then you'll see it does end up looking like a galvanized metal when I'm all done. And I'm filling in all of the gaps there with hot glue. I really just needed a flat surface. I wanted it to be as stable as possible since the little dowel with the ball on the end of it is all I have to attach it with. I almost forgot, but I wanted to seal it with polyacrylic just so that if it gets water on it or anything, which it probably will next to the kitchen sink, that would protect it. So that's what I'm doing here. And now it's time for assembly. And we've already seen how that's going to go. I'm just putting it together. I tried a little super glue because I was curious if that would work. It didn't. So I went back to my hot glue. This isn't going to have heavy things in it and it's not going to get moved around a lot. So I figured hot glue is probably going to be just fine. If I run into a problem later, I can always do E6000 and let it dry. But I feel like the stability I created really is going to help with this in terms of staying intact. I needed to create a little bit of a wider surface for the shower curtain ring to attach. So I wrapped some jute twine around the top of the dowel, which was a perfect thing to do. And then I did some crisscrosses around the base of the shower curtain ring, and it's just for decorative purposes, but it also holds it in place. And I use hot glue to attach everything. And I think it actually looks really nice like that. I turned it upside down to make sure that I put some hot glue on all the other sides too, that way it would be super strong. I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's definitely going to be very useful, and you'll have to let me know what you think. DIY, I picked up this little calendar sign from Dollar Tree. I've always wanted to do something with them. I removed the twine hanger and I used a staple remover to take out the little staples in the back. And then I was going to take the label off and it was stubborn. I used a blow dryer. Boy, it really gave me a lot of grief. I even used like a little putty knife. Eventually, I did get it off though. I sanded where the staples were and where the label was, make sure there wasn't anything sticky on it. And then the little hangers, the 3 hangers where the numbers and the ones hang, I turned them, flipped around the other way because I wanted the sign to go the other direction. And now I'm sanding off the Shine Bright because it was really sparkly and I figured it might not cover as well with the paint. I'm going to paint the front and side edges of this sign in a Waverly chalk paint called Pool. It's a really pretty light blue. It took 3 coats to fully cover where I couldn't see anything underneath. I used a rough bristle brush and the color Mineral from Waverly, and I did some very light distressing. I love the combination of the mineral with a blue. It's just really pretty. Went around the edges and a little bit in the center. You know how on the back of a calendar it shows you what each month is going to be and they're little teeny squares? Well, I used 2 different calendars that I had gotten at the Dollar Tree and I picked 3 different little squares. One of them says, "This is the day the Lord has made, we will rejoice and be glad in it," which is Psalm 118:24. And then the next one is, "Everything beautiful begins with God." And then the third one is, "Be joyful in hope, faithful in prayer," and that's Romans 12:12. And I just love them, and I thought for a little calendar to have those daily reminders, affirmations, would be awesome. I cut out the little squares, and I'm going to frame them using some skewers. So I'm going to measure the sizes, I'm going to clip the little skewers into the right size, and then I'm going to hot glue them around the edges. I'm using my miter shears to clip them. I love this tool. I got it on Amazon and I use it so much. It's awesome. I'll put a link in the description. I quickly sanded all of the edges of those little skewers so there wouldn't be any pointy parts. And now I'm attaching my little skewers to the individual little pictures as frames. I used my Cricut to create a little transfer that says Jesus loves me. Now honestly, you could do this with Dollar Tree stickers. You could trace it and use carbon paper, or you could just freehand it. This would be very easy to do without a Cricut. I'm still a newbie with the Cricut, so I pulled up a little bit of the transfer and I used a black marker to fill that in. It was actually an easy fix. Now I'm attaching my 3 little pictures or signs to the top, and that is going to finish it off except for the very back, which I'm going to add a little jute hanger, and then I'm going to put some craft paper on the back to finish it off and make the sign look very nice. This will be a very useful calendar for me because not only will it tell me the date, but it will give me some positive affirmations and remind me that Jesus loves me, and I just love that. I really love how this turned out and what it stands for. I hope you guys really love it too. Let me know in the comments what you think. DIY, I wanted to make something for my husband's desk. He has things everywhere, and I don't know how he finds anything, although he says he knows where everything is. But I thought I'd make him a little organization center so he could hang reminders, keep his pens and pencils, that kind of stuff. So I'm using these planks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use 6 of them, and then these 2 little drawers. And I'm actually going to take out the little drawer inserts and use those and leave the others for a future DIY. I've also got this piece from another Dollar Tree sign that was just a piece of plastic with a little clip on it. And then I found this super cute little ampersand sign at a thrift store. And then I took a little Dollar Tree frame, took out the center, and I'm going to use that piece as well. I'm using the Antique Wax by Waverly right now to apply it as a stain. So I'm just putting it on and then rubbing it off. And then I'm going to hot glue each of these planks together. And once I get them all together, I'm going to go back and I'm going to shore them up on the back with some popsicle sticks, as you will see here. So funny story, I don't know why, but I only stained 5 of those planks instead of 6, and so later on you'll see me adding the 6 because I realized, wait, this isn't as long as I needed it to be. Oh well, things happen, right? I'm going to take those popsicle sticks, figure out how I want to place them. I'm actually going to have to trim the middle ones down a little bit, and then I'm just going to hot glue them over the seams and across so that this way my sign will stay together. And I forgot to show it on camera, but I do finish off the back of the sign because I love doing that with craft paper. To make this look a little more finished and high-end, I'm going to take some more popsicle sticks and I'm going to measure across the front of that drawer where the little cutout is and create some little wood planks to put on there. I love that look. Once I have my 4 little wood planks for each of those drawers, I'm going to hot glue them right to the front, and then I'm going to sand off any rough edges, and I'm going to do the same thing where I stain the drawers using the Waverly Antique Wax and then rub off the excess. I want everything to have a really nice, cohesive, finished look. Also, I want it to look a little bit on the rustic side because that's what my husband likes. Now I'm going to take that little frame from the smaller picture where I took the center out, and I'm going to also stain that with the Antique Wax by Waverly. And I'm going to do everything but the very, very top because I'm going to do a galvanized look for that one. To create the galvanized look, I use a little bit of the metallic silver, a little bit of gray, a little bit of black, and a little bit of white. And I just keep dabbing it on until it looks the way I want it to. And I'm going to be comparing it to my little ampersand, which is actually already galvanized. So I want it to look like they belong together. And I think I accomplished that. It's a super easy technique. It's just something you play with until you get it the way you want it. You could go as distressed as you want. You could add a different color for rust, like burnt umber, whatever you like. Honestly, it's to your liking, and this is the way that I wanted it to look. And you can see it's starting to look a lot like metal instead of wood. I'm going to take a little bit of jute twine from the Dollar Tree and I'm just going to make a hanger. I'm going to hot glue it to the back, make a little loop, and then I'm going to put a little bit of masking tape over each side, and that seems to really hold those down perfectly with the combination of the hot glue and the masking tape. And after I cover the back with the craft paper, you won't see the masking tape or any of that. You'll just see the little twine hanging out. I wanted to give it a little bit of color, so I have this really cute scrapbook paper, and I'm going to trace that piece of plastic all around. And we're going to use that plastic as a little whiteboard, because you can use dry erase markers on it and then wipe it right off if you need to give yourself reminders or have little notes. So I'm just going to put a dot of hot glue in the four corners, and I'm going to attach it to the back so you can just see it right through, and it'll always have that pretty pattern behind it. It's right about now when I realized that I didn't do all 6 planks, because I was positioning everything and all of a sudden I went, uh-oh, there's not enough room. So I think I did it off camera, but I added the 6th plank, and now I'm going to position everything. I'm going to hot glue my little drawers down with those wood planks facing forward, and I'm going to attach the little blue whiteboard and the box at the top that has the ampersand in it, and I'm loving the way this came out. I've got this black faux leather. It was actually gifted to me by my friend Lisa Kennedy, Dollar Mom, here on YouTube, and it's from the Dollar Tree. I'll link her channel below so you can check her out. Thanks, Lisa. And I'm going to attach it to cover that seam, and I'm going to use it in 2 other places just for a little bit of embellishment, and I just really like it. It kind of made it a little more masculine, and since this is going in my husband's office area, I wanted to make sure it wasn't overly feminine, because he likes things, like I said, a little rustic and maybe a little more masculine. And I'm just continuing to position everything and then hot glue it down. And this is the little frame that's going to go around the ampersand. And once that is dry with the hot glue, then I will also do the same thing to the ampersand itself and attach it. And I'm just reinforcing all those seams in there to make sure it stays. It's not holding anything, so I didn't need to use E6000, but I did want to get a pretty decent hold. And I'm also going to attach the little dry erase plastic and make sure that that's down. And boy, this is just shaping up really nice. I'm so happy with how this is turning out. I really like it. I hope you guys like it too. And the good news is that my husband loves it. So that's, I guess, what really matters, right? Since it's a gift for him. And I am going to add a couple more pieces of that faux leather, like I mentioned, just one above and below the little dry erase plastic, because I thought that really just kind of made it look a little bit more finished and, like I said earlier, high end. And you know, you could use this to hold pencils and things, or you could put flowers in the bottom, whatever you like. DIY, I'm going to use 3 of those little boxes that usually have the drawers in them from the Dollar Tree, and 2 of these little teeny cutting boards I got at Hobby Lobby on 40% off clearance. They're adorable. And then I always save little pieces of things that I don't use, so I've got a chicken, a tractor, and then this little like half circle shape. And these were literally such a good price. They were $3.99 each, but 40% off. And I'm going to use the plaster color chalk paint from Waverly and the truffle color chalk paint from Waverly. Now, one of these boxes was already painted white previously, but I'm going to sand the other 2 down, and I'm still going to go over them with the plaster color because it's just off-white. And I know that other white will look different if I don't cover it. I'm going to paint all 3 boxes, inside, outside, bottom, everything. And then I'm going to sand down my little pieces. I'm going to paint the half circle plaster on both sides, and then just the back of the chicken and the tractor with the plaster color as well. Next, I'm just going to kind of play around with them and determine where I would like to place them. So I've decided I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and liquid adhesive to put the chicken and the tractor on the two outside boxes. And I'm going to wait to add the little half circle. Now I'm going to take the truffle and a foam brush and just very lightly touch all of the edges, the entire box, every possible edge there is. And I'm just loving that little farmhouse antiquing look that it gives. Kind of goes into the wood a little bit, so it's like not a clean line. And then I just added a little bit to the edges of those pieces and around the middle, very lightly dry brush. So now I can go ahead and figure out the placement of the half circle. Now I'm going to take that liquid adhesive and the hot glue and attach all three boxes to each other. So that way I've got one piece now going forward. Then I'm going to cut up some cardboard to lift up that middle piece because I can't get it on there without it interfering with the chicken and the tractor. And by doing this, it kind of puts it slightly above it, and then I can get some glue on the back and attach it, and that really makes a huge difference. So if you're ever working with pieces that don't lay the same, this is a great way. Just kind of paint the edges of the cardboard like I did with the truffle, and it will just be hidden and you really won't even notice it. Next, I'm going to take last year's farmhouse calendar. I'm going to go to the back of it and cut out this cute little picture that just says Farm Fresh. I'm going to trim it down to size so that it fits right on that little half circle. And I'm going to use that liquid adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to put it on there and then get my brayer out and make sure every piece of it is touching the surface. And it's super, super cute. I'm going to distress around the edges of that, and I got a little too much on there, so I just quickly grabbed a baby wipe and I was able to clean it up right away. Now I'm going to take my little cutting boards and get rid of the tags, and I'm going to do a tight bond, which is like a heavy duty wood glue, and I'm going to put that on both sides and then a little bit of hot glue just to get it to stick for right now so that I can keep working. And it's a little wider than the three boxes, but because I have some pieces hanging over on the front, I had to let the extra go to the back. You really won't notice it. Now I'm going to take a big piece of twine, it's a little thicker, make a knot, put a little drop of hot glue. I'm going to wrap some tape around the edge of my twine. I'm going to put some of the bigger beads on there. They're just natural. I'm not going to paint them. I got them on Amazon, and you can find them in my Amazon store. Really good deal. I'm going to put just enough to make it to the other side, and then I'm going to string the twine right through, make another knot, and then add a dab of hot glue to make sure it stays in place. And now I have a cute little farmhouse handle for this caddy. You could use this for so many different reasons, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Particular organization hack is going to be using some Dollar Tree items to create an inexpensive space-saving storage solution for my little paint containers. I purchased 4 napkin holders from the Dollar Tree. Placing them bottom to bottom, I used some little ties to hold them together. I'm going to stack them on top of each other and then lay them side by side when each set of 2 is completed. And I'm going to cut off the ends of the little ties as soon as I position everything correctly and everything as tight as can be. And what I'm going to end up with is a really nice solution for fitting in my smaller little paint containers. And this is just what it looks like when it's standing up. And then here it is with the paint inside. Super easy, super inexpensive, and very efficient way to save my space and also be able to see all of my little paint containers at once. This will easily hold 24 of the 2-ounce paint jars. And then there's those open spaces in the middle where I could actually even store more or possibly other supplies. I'm really loving this, and I'm finding it very, very efficient to use. Let me know in the comments if you need storage solutions or organization solutions, because I will definitely do more videos like that in the future. On Pinterest. Now, I've seen lots of these and I've been wanting to make one for a while because we have a pretty big family and it is hard to keep track of all those birthdays. So I'm going to take this one and use it for inspiration so it won't be an exact dupe. I found these really cool tags on Amazon and it'll be linked in my Amazon store. And then I've got this sign from the Dollar Tree, which is really 3 little squares kind of pieced together. I'm going to take those apart. And then I have some scrap wood, little shims. And then I'm going to use crystal and ballet slipper, celery and cashew, and plaster. And then I do use little antique wax and of course my Kills All-Purpose white primer. I'm going to go ahead and remove the tags. I'm going to use this really cool staple remover that I got on Amazon. I'll have that in my store as well. Just takes the staples out like it's nothing. And then I'm going to sand down the area where the staples were. Then I'm going to take my signs, I'm going to turn them over, and I'm going to use those shims or scrap pieces of wood to hot glue the pieces together for extra support. And now I just have one long board. I'm going to use my Kills white primer and I'm going to paint the whole thing in that primer just to give it a nice base coat. I'll use my heat tool to dry it, also in my Amazon store, and then I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to draw faux shiplap lines, and I'm not going to make them all even. I really want this to look like a bunch of random pieces of wood put together. I'm going to get my finger wet and smear the pencil marking. Now, if I was going to leave it like this would be fine. I probably didn't need to do this because I did decide later to accentuate them. But I'm also going to take a blade and I'm going to cut into them just to make them actually look like individual pieces of wood. Now, I'm going to alternate the colors that I mentioned earlier. So right now, I first did plaster on the 2 ends and 1 in the middle, and now I'm doing cashew. Then I'm going to do the crystal on the opposing sides. And then I'm going to move in with my celery. And then the last 2 planks are going to be in the ballet slipper. Now this kind of gives it a little bit of a look of like reclaimed wood. So you could almost say this is kind of a coastal vibe, but it's also farmhouse. So, you know, it'll go either way. And I just like that about it. It's very, versatile. Now I'm taking the antique wax, and this is where I decided to accentuate the little planks. So I just put a drop on and then I'm like smearing it with my finger. Yeah, it gets a little messy, but you know what? It's just paint and it wipes right off. And now I'm going to go around and distress very lightly around the edges. And then I'm going to do a super light dry brushing over the top where you just put a little bit on your brush, wipe most of it off, and drag it across. Now I'm going to take my little sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to go ahead and sand over all of those lines just to blur them a little bit more. Now I'm going to take my Aleene's decoupage and I'm going to go over the top of the whole sign so it's nice and smooth. Now this is the most awesome tool. I got this on Amazon too, and it is a crocodile. Makes holes like it's nothing. Found these really cool cardboard letters that they're sticky on the back from Walmart, and I just decided to take my black marker and I went over the top of them because I wanted them to be black. I've done this before and it does work out really well, and I'm spelling out the word family. And then I found this liquid adhesive at the Dollar Tree. I've been using it for everything. I love it because it's got a real pointy top, and I'm just placing the words. I didn't center them 100%. Well, I'll be honest, I thought I was, but obviously I don't center very well. So it's off center, and now I'm going to go with that. So I'm putting on the word family individually, all the letters with my little adhesive. And I'm going to use my square to try to put them on straight. If I can't center it, at least hopefully I can put them on level. Then I'm going to use these decals from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to use the little like leaves, and I'm just going to put them right on because they're already sticky. I'm going to put some off to the right, and later I'm going to add some to the left. And I'm going to use my blade to cut them where the planks are because I want them to look like they're on separate planks. And now I'm going to use a pencil and I'm going to write in cursive, life's greatest blessing. And I'm just going to go over that with a black marker. And I'm going to use my heat tool to dry it so I don't accidentally smudge it. I would love it if you guys would come visit me on social media, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. Now I'm just going to freehand the months of the year. Now I'm going to be honest, I probably should have used some letters for this or my Cricut or something because I don't think I wrote them very nicely. But at the same time, this is more of a functional piece, so it's cute. You know, maybe I didn't do the letters as nicely as I could have, but I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to use that crocodile again, and I'm going to punch a hole for each of the months. And literally, this thing goes through everything like butter: wood, metal, cardboard, you name it, plastic. There's no effort. If you have arthritis, this is a tool you should really get. It will help you so much. I'm going to put some of my Aleene's decoupage right over those decals to make sure they stay in place. And then I'm going to get my craft paper and hot glue it to the back. And then I'll take a blade and some scissors and I will just go ahead and trim that off and make sure that you can't see it from the front. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my decoupage solution over the top of all of my months and then Life's Greatest Blessing, because I want to make sure that stays in place and it doesn't get smudged or anything, you know, with liquid. And I'm going to poke back through the holes. Since I put the craft paper on, you can't see them. I'm going to use a pointy pencil and just point through each of the holes for the months and the top two that I'm going to hang it from. And then I'm going to take some jute twine from the Dollar Tree and I'm just going to tie a knot and wrap it around the holes at the top for each of the hangers. Now I filled out all the little tags off camera and attach them to the sign, and so I'm going to show you a picture of what that looks like. It would just have taken so long on the video. So there are all the birthdays. It's not even everybody, it's just the close family members. And here it is, you guys. I absolutely love this. It's so practical. It's going to hang in my husband's office area. Now we have a way to see them and I'm so excited about it. Really cool corner shelf on Crate & Barrel's website for $129. Let's do it for less. I'm going to be using my Kills White primer paint and this sign that I got from Dollar Tree. First thing I'm going to do is take off the tag, and then I'm going to turn the sign over, and I have this awesome tool from Amazon that makes it so easy to remove staples, and I'm going to go ahead and remove those and take the little hanger off because I don't need it. Then I'm going to take my square and another little ruler and I'm going to figure out exactly how to cut the line diagonally across because I want the two pieces to be equal. I'm going to use a blade and just keep scoring over it until it's worn down enough for me to bend it in half, and then I can cut the rest of it all the way through. And the reason I'm doing this is that I need a triangle piece for this shelf, and this is going to be a perfect thickness by putting the two pieces together. I'm going to sand the edges. And of course that made a mess, so I'm going to use my little ladybug tool from Amazon and vacuum it up, which I love that thing. Then I'm going to take some hot glue and I'm going to put it on what used to be the front. I removed the paper, and then I'm going to put them together so all that you see now are the back sides. Now I'm going to take that white primer and I'm going to use a foam brush and I'm just going to put it on all in one direction so you see what it looks like, kind of grain. Use my heat tool to dry it. I'm going to do the same thing to both sides, and I'm also going to paint around the edges. And then I'm going to use a combination of warm buff and burnt umber. I'm going to mix them together, and then I'm going to add a little bit of pumpkin by Waverly, the chalk paint, and I'm trying to get this really kind of warm wood look like the picture had. So after mixing them together, I'm going to put this on again, all in the same direction to give it a wood grain kind of a look. I'm going to end up doing 2 coats to get it dark enough, and of course I'm going to do this to the back and the sides as well. And then I'm going to take a kind of a stiff chippy brush and just go across it and try to make those grain lines look more real. Originally I was going to use these painter sticks, and I ended up switching to the very thick dowels that I have. And I honestly can't remember if I got those at Dollar Tree or Walmart. Either way, I'm using my miter shears from Amazon to go ahead and cut them to fit that length of the base of the triangle, or at least the bottom part you see there. And I'm going to end up doubling it up. I'm going to take all the skewers that I'm going to use and I'm going to put them in some foam and just paint them all with the ink chalk paint from Waverly. I'm going to take 2 of the skewers that I measured out already to fit that long side of the triangle. I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to attach it. And like I said before, I am going to double up. I'm going to wipe away some of that excess so it doesn't get everywhere. And hopefully this will keep it in place. If I had really good power tools, I could have cut those thicker paint sticks, but I don't. So that's why I ended up using the dowels. And it's not my first choice, but it does end up looking nice. Now I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to end up positioning those side pieces. It's really tricky. I've got the one that is going to be supporting the very middle of the triangle. And like I said, I'm doubling all of them up just to give them a little more thickness like the picture had. This was the hardest part. I had to use jars of paint and different things to kind of position it, and you'll see me using my level a lot to keep this in place. It was very tricky because of how it rests right on the point of that triangle. I'm going to touch up where the hot glue might be with some of my black paint. And now back to positioning the shelf. Like I said, I'm using paint jars, my level, and I have to do this back and forth, back and forth. This was literally the trickiest part. And I'm going to do some hot glue, and I don't think you see me doing it, but I also added some E6000, whatever I could find to make this secure. And I just kept adding more, peeling off excess, using the level to check it. This was the most challenging part, no question about it. It's not like anything else was difficult. This was just challenging. So then I flipped it over, did the same thing. I decided that that very back piece needed to be thicker. So I'm going to take my tumbling tower blocks and I'm going to paint them all in the ink paint, and then I'm going to hot glue them to the lower and the upper portion of that skewer that's supporting the point of the triangle, and that really helps support the shelf, and it looks nicer too. So I'm glad that I came up with that idea, even though, like I said, if I'd only had power tools, I would have definitely done the wider paint sticks. Now I'm going to place all those blocks on there just to make sure I know how many I need, and paint the next set, and then I will go ahead and hot glue them all right to the skewers. And then I'm going to flip it over to the other side there and do the bottom or the top, whichever way you look at it, as well. I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue on both sides just to reinforce where the tumbling tower block meets the shelf itself. And of course, I'm constantly checking to see that it's level and just like I said, making sure that it is as secure as possible, because it looks so precarious the way it's sitting there. Now I'm going to take those doubled up skewers that I cut and measured to go from one edge of the shelf to the top and one edge of the shelf to the bottom. Now I accidentally did it backwards from the picture, but it really doesn't matter, and I think it looks good either way. But I just hot glued those, and they really aren't holding any weight, so it's okay to just use hot glue on those. I really love how this turned out, and I have a perfect place to put it. And I'll tell you, I do like a good challenge, and literally this one only cost me $3 plus paint and glue. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Plastic jar, I'm just going to clean off the outside with some rubbing alcohol to make sure that my stencil vinyl will stick. I'm going to use my Cricut, and I'm going to cut out 2 paw prints, and I found the paw prints in Design Space when I looked under images. And now I'm just going to go ahead and pull that off of the mat, and I'm going to cut out the 2 paw prints. What I'm going to do is put the transfer tape over the paws, and I am going to put them on the little jar, one on each side, and then I'm going to paint it with them on there, and then I'm going to take them off. So it's like a reverse stencil, I guess, and then you'll just see the paw prints as little windows for my little dog treat canister, and I just think it's so cute. I'm going to take my canister outside, and first I'm going to spray a white primer on it. Then I'm going to spray this kind of like galvanized silver color on it, and then I'm going to put a little bit of a coat of clear over it. And this is how it turned out. Super cute. And I've got this little knob. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby. And then I had this little piece of buffalo check paper that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to just trace around the top of the cap, and I'm going to cut a circle, and then it'll fit right on top. And I'm going to use some Mod Podge and attach it, and just make sure that that's on there really nice, because I think that'll be super cute. Next, I'm going to take this ribbon. I have had this for years. I have no idea where I got it, but it's little paw prints. How perfect. I'm just going to hot glue it all the way around the edge of the top of the lid. And then I'm going to add some Mod Podge over the paper now that the other Mod Podge has dried. And I'm going to use this Folk Art brushed metal silver paint. I'm going to paint that little knob. I want it to look like it's also metal. And I'm going to use some E6000 and a little drop of hot glue, and I'm going to attach it right in the center. And it's not functional, but it's cute, and I just think it makes it look a little bit fancier. Next, I'm going to take that paw print ribbon, because I guess I can't get enough of it, and I added one little piece around the bottom as trim with hot glue. And then off camera, I put some twine around each side of that. I just thought that was super, super cute. And then I'm going to take this twine and I'm going to put it around the rivets where the little lid screws on, but not to the point where you can't screw it on. And I just think this is turning out adorable. Talk about like a trash to treasure. And I just love that little paw print. It's so cute. This metal hack, I actually got these two pieces from the Target dollar spot. They were $3 each, but they were just too cute to pass up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first use my heat tool from Amazon. You can find all my favorite supplies down in my description box. There's a link. And I'm going to remove the price tags on them. I just hate those labels. I'm going to use some E6000 and hot glue to take those little bottom legs of these pieces and attach them together. Now, that's not enough to keep them together, but it's good enough to hold them in place. I'm going to use my miter shears, also from Amazon. I'm going to take a little piece of scrap wood. It was like the end of a paint stir stick, and I'm just going to slice it right in half. This tool is amazing. I'm going to sand down all the edges, and then I'm going to use the E6000 and the hot glue again to put each piece on the back side of this whole thing over that seam, and now it's going to hold really, really well. I taped off all of the inner areas so that I could paint the whole outside, back, inside portions, whatever, all with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And I love peeling off the tape. It's so awesome. If I have anything left over, I'll just take a little blade or scraper tool and scrape off the paint. And there it is, all painted. I'm going to take my burnt umber paint by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to dry brush over the metal. And there you go, you can see it. I just put a little bit on my brush, wiped most of it off, and then dabbed it. I'm going to do the same thing with the black chalkboard paint all over it. I want to make this look more worn and antique. I'm going to take these little screws that I got at, I think, Home Depot. I'm just going to take a little nail to make some starter holes. I don't have a small drill bit like that, so I just twisted those in and they went right in perfectly. I had 4 of those on the bottom. Then I've got these little clips, and I'm just going to hot glue an E6000 them right to the center top part of the metal pieces. That way you could hang something on it. This is just going to be a cute little functional piece that's also decorative to hang things. I've got this plant hanger. I just took one little piece from it. Comes apart very easily. And I'm going to take 2 little screws, and I'm just going to screw them on to the back, like in the center of those metal pieces up on the wood. Super easy to do. And I didn't even have to really drill holes. I just started a little baby hole. And there it is, perfect hanger. And then I found this little knob at Hobby Lobby. It was like 99 cents on clearance. And it has a hole in it, and I don't want to put a screw in it because that's right where that seam is, and it'll just break it apart, I'm sure. So I'm going to add a little piece of a skewer stick in there, and then I'm going to add some E6000 and hot glue. And I'm going to attach that right to the center. Now, I will not be hanging anything heavy on it. It's mostly for decor. I found this gutter guard roll. It was on sale for 99 cents at Lowe's, and it's great for like faux chicken wire. So I just cut a piece in that one open area in the middle, and I'm just going to use my staple gun and attach it. Look how cute that looks. I hope you guys like it. Thank you so much for watching. You are truly a blessing to me. Which one was your favorite? I'm really curious. Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I've got another one on the screen and I think you'll really like it. So if you want to hang out a little bit more with me, go ahead and click on that. And if you do, I will see you there. Bye.
I've been hiding the world safely in my head.